This podcast wasn't born in a studio. It was built in the wild moments of real life, the messy and the beautiful ones. School drop-offs, cold coffee, and whispered pep talks to myself that maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than only surviving. I'm Shantelle, nurse, neurodivergent woman, solo mum, and your platform glitter croc wearing healthcare hype girl. I'm driven by one purpose: to show the world that different doesn't mean less, because everyone is different, just like you. The more we talk about being considerate of all humans, not just in response to a diagnosis, the more it becomes part of everyday life. So welcome to Different Like You, where we have real, considered conversations about inclusion, kindness, and what it means to be fully human. If something here resonates, share it with a friend, because these conversations change the world, one listener at a time. Let's get into it.
Here's something I've been thinking about lately. Compliance is often rewarded like it's a virtue, being agreeable, being easy to work with, and don't make things difficult. But for so many neurodivergent people, but also not neurodivergent, compliance isn't free and it comes at a cost. Why does this matter? Because we spend so much time talking about behaviour, good behaviour, appropriate behaviour, professional behaviour. But I actually think that the word behaviour is part of the problem. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I said what I said, because behaviour suggests a choice. It suggests that someone is simply deciding how to act. But human actions are rarely that simple or linear. We are complex individuals by nature. We are diverse, and our actions are shaped by circumstance, situation, capacity, and capability. And all of those things are really dynamic. And when we ignore that, we misunderstand the person. Recently, I've had a couple of experiences that really brought this into focus for me. And I speak a lot about this with my children, in that good humans can make poor choices. Not even that they can, they do. It is part of our learning experience. But the first one I've spoken about before, it was when I was filling out a form, and one of the questions asked whether I had a disability. And there were so many different categories listed, but none of them actually described my experience or my diagnosis. And so I said, oh, that doesn't really fit. And the response that I got was, oh, just tick prefer not to say. But that wasn't what I had said. And I wasn't refusing to answer. I actually did have a preference to say, but I didn't have the option. I was explaining that the categories themselves didn't actually afford me the opportunity to say, and that their categories then didn't allow a place for my reality. The flip side of that, and something that I find really interesting, is I had a similar situation with another organisation very recently, and their system wasn't able to access the usual adjustments that I would have in place. I don't like the word adjustments, but it is in their world what they know them as. So that's what we used. And I wasn't able to use that. But what they did differently, and what I really found so powerful, was that they communicated that with me before the event. And they were really compassionate and understanding in their approach. And what the driver was how can we help you? But also, how do you think we could do this differently in the future? Because we really understand that you're probably not the only person that this would be helpful for. And we want to learn more and understand more. It was the most wonderful demonstration of being kind first, then being curious and being open to learning. And I still right now get goosebumps when I talk about it, because I was feeling in that moment everything that I advocate for, and the feeling as an end user in my experience with them, a sense of a feeling that is unfortunately so unfamiliar, but it is so powerful and so wonderful. So I loved that they wanted to know that they were going to keep working on this. And this is exactly how accessibility should work. No, not ever pretending that a system is perfect. It needs to be dynamic. And needs to be sustainable. We're not forcing people into categories. We need to be curious about understanding what those categories are, and maybe we just get rid of the categories. Because again, if we are trying to arrange them into a category, then again, we're looking for compliance for that category. And what if we made considerations for all people instead of adjustments in response to a diagnosis? Our compliance culture, I feel, is so deeply embedded into every single system. People who are quiet, people who are agreeable and easy to manage are rewarded. We see them climb the corporate ladder, and we're thinking that doesn't necessarily mean that they're really great and deserving of that circumstance. And so sometimes it means that people have learned that survival requires adapting themselves to environments that weren't designed for them in mind, and where we really see the significant gap in masking, and that adaptation is exhausting. When you are constantly adjusting to communication, to energy, to reactions, to needs, just to make sure that things run as perceived as they should, it takes every bit of effort on a cellular level from a person. And I experience this daily. Research into neurodivergent masking, there's so much out there, and it really shows that the evidence is there saying that suppressing these natural responses and adapting behaviours to meet external expectations is 100% associated with increased stress, anxiety, and burnout. Basically, the constantly managing to fit into environments that don't recognise that you might have different considerations or needs can have a real psychological cost. And we wonder why we are experiencing a significant mental health crisis. Honestly, I don't think that neurodivergent adults or those of neurodivergent children needed the research to confirm that, because we bloody live it every day, and it's hard work. If you wonder why it's so challenging going to the supermarket or a shopping centre, it's because your senses have been overwhelmed. It's because there's situations that you have been in that other people really just take for granted don't have an impact on their ability to function. If we know compliance asks people to manage themselves to fit within a system, accessibility is asking us as a society to expand. Ask better questions. What have we missed? Who did we actually design this for? Who do we actually want involved? Who have we inadvertently left out? And I'm a big believer in people don't know how to do different in some areas, and typically when they have the information, they will. And it is saying in our family, when we know different, we do different, because sometimes the additional education is all that was required to make an adjustment. If our system falls apart the moment a human is involved in it and shows up with some kind of differentiating factor than what the system was that we designed or the form that we've created, we have to understand that the system is not robust and it is flawed, not the person. Difference isn't the exception. It is the human experience. Everyone's brain works differently because everybody is different, just like you. We're all deserving of a positive human experience. So today, I ask you to go through your day, be kind, be curious, and stay open to learning.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Different Like You today. These conversations matter, because when we take the time to have considered conversations, the world gets a little kinder and a lot more human. I'm Shantelle, your healthcare hype girl, reminding you to be kind, be curious, and always be learning. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend, because small actions create change to support everyone. After all, everyone's different, just like you. Until the next step, keep showing up exactly as you are.